The vast expanse of space stretched infinitely dotted, with countless worlds harboring diverse species that form the Galactic Alliance. Among these civilizations, the Draconids stood as apex predators, their scaled bodies and razor-sharp claws, marking them as nature's perfect hunters. Their society revolved around the ancient tradition of the hunt, where prowess in combat and tracking determined one's status within their rigid hierarchy. Humans, by contrast, were considered among the weaker species in the Alliance. Their fragile forms and lack of natural weapons made them objects of disdain among the more physically gifted races. Most Draconids viewed humans as little more than prey animals who had somehow stumbled into spacefaring technology, unworthy of true respect or consideration. Dr. Lena Marin stood at the observation deck of the research vessel. Endeavor, her trained eyes studying the swirling storms that covered the surface of Thraxis 4. As one of humanity's foremost experts in xenobiology and ecosystem dynamics, she had been specifically requested for this mission by the Alliance Science Council. The planet below harbored unique biomes that could revolutionize agricultural techniques across multiple worlds, but its hostile environment had deterred previous exploration attempts. Dr. Marin, came the voice of Captain Torres through the intercom. "We're preparing for the descent to Thraxis 4. Please report to the shuttle bay." Lena gathered her research equipment, checking each piece carefully. Her portable laboratory contained advanced scanning devices, atmospheric analyzers, and biological sample containers, everything needed to catalog the planet's diverse ecosystems. The artificial intelligence unit, Iris, flickered to life on her wrist-mounted display, its holographic form materializing as a soft blue light. "All systems operational," Dr. Marin Iris reported in its calm, synthesized voice. "Thraxis 4 atmospheric data indicates breathable air with elevated humidity and electromagnetic anomalies in the upper atmosphere." "Thank you, Iris. Any signs of intelligent life?" "Inconclusive. Long-range scans detect structures that may be artificial, but their origin remains unknown." The shuttle bay buzzed with activity as the research team made final preparations. Lena joined her colleagues, a geologist, an atmospheric specialist, and 2 security personnel in the small exploration vessel designed for planetary surveys. As they strapped in for the descent, the shuttle's captain initiated the launch sequence. The journey down through Thraxis 4's atmosphere proved more turbulent than expected. Lightning crackled around the shuttle as they passed through thick storm clouds, and electromagnetic interference began disrupting their systems. Warning alarms blared throughout the cabin as the pilot fought to maintain control. "We're experiencing multiple system failures," the pilot shouted over the noise. "Electromagnetic storm is stronger than our scans indicated. I'm losing navigation and communication." Lena gripped her harness as the shuttle shook violently. Through the viewport, she could see the dark canopy of an alien forest rushing up to meet them. The pilot's skill kept them from a fatal crash, but the emergency landing was far from gentle. The shuttle carved a deep furrow through the earth before finally coming to rest against a massive tree trunk. Smoke filled the cabin as emergency lighting cast everything in an eerie red glow. Lena checked herself for injuries, bruised but intact. Around her, groans indicated that others had survived, though the pilot remained unconscious at the controls. "Iris status report," Lena whispered, coughing, as she activated her wrist unit. "Dr. Marin shuttle systems are severely damaged. Communication array is non-functional, and the main power core is offline. I detect 3 life signs aboard the shuttle, including yourself." 2 of their team hadn't made it. Lena helped tend to the wounded while assessing their situation. The geologist Dr. Sarah Kim had suffered a broken arm but remained conscious. The pilot was alive but unresponsive, likely due to a concussion. The security personnel and atmospheric specialist had perished on impact. "We need to establish some sort of shelter and signal for rescue," Dr. Kim said, wincing as Lena fashioned a makeshift splint for her arm. "First, we need to understand what we're dealing with," Lena replied, looking toward the shuttle's damaged exit hatch. Iris environmental analysis of our immediate surroundings. Scanning. The local atmosphere contains elevated levels of exotic particles that may interfere with standard technology. Temperature is 28 degrees Celsius with 89% humidity. I detect no immediate biological threats within a 50-meter radius. Lena carefully opened the hatch and humid air rushed in, carrying with it the sense of rich earth and unfamiliar vegetation. The forest around them was unlike anything in Earth's databases. Massive trees with bioluminescent bark stretched toward a canopy so thick that only filtered light reached the ground. Strange fungi emitted soft pulses of various colors, and the air itself seemed to shimmer with suspended microorganisms. As she stepped out to survey the crash site, Lena noticed something troubling. In the soft earth around the shuttle, large three-toed footprints formed a circle. Something had been watching them. Something big. "Dr. Kim, we're not alone out here," Lena called back into the shuttle. "Stay inside while I gather what supplies I can carry." The footprints were fresh, pressed deep into the earth by whatever massive creature had made them. Each print measured nearly 30 centimeters across with deep claw marks at the tips of the toes. Based on the spacing and depth, Lena estimated the creature to be humanoid, but significantly larger and heavier than any human. Working quickly, she gathered essential supplies from the shuttle's emergency stores: water purification tablets, energy rations, a basic medical kit, and her research equipment. The shuttle's main computer was damaged, but she managed to download what data she could to Iris's memory core. A low growl echoed through the forest, seeming to come from all directions at once. Lena froze, her heart racing, as she realized they were being watched. She slowly backed toward the shuttle, but movement in the tree line caught her eye. A figure emerged from the shadows, a draconid, but unlike any Lena had encountered in Alliance space. This one stood over 2 meters tall, its scales a deep emerald green that seemed to shift color in the filtered light. Intricate scarification covered its arms and face, and its eyes glowed with an intelligent amber light. It wore minimal armor, preferring to display the natural weapons of its species: razor-sharp claws, powerful muscles, and a predator's grace. Human. The creature spoke in accented, but clear standard, its voice a deep rumble. "I am Varrock Ironclaw of the Deepwood clan. You trespass in sacred hunting grounds." Lena's mind raced. Draconids in Alliance space were civilized, bound by treaties and laws. But this one carried himself with the bearing of someone who answered to no authority but his own. "I'm Dr. Lena Marin," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Our ship crashed. We need medical assistance for our injured." Varrock's head tilted slightly, his nostrils flaring as he scented the air. "Injured? Yes. But you are not injured, human. You stand, you speak, you move with purpose." He stepped closer, and Lena could smell the wild scent of the forest clinging to his scales. "The clan masters have declared this world a testing ground. You will provide sport." Sport. Lena's blood ran cold. "We're researchers, not combatants. We're protected under Alliance law." A sound that might have been laughter rumbled from Varrock's throat. "Alliance law holds no sway in the Deepwood. You have one rotation of the moons to reach the northern stone circle. If you survive, if you prove worthy, perhaps we will speak of rescue." Without another word, Varrock melted back into the forest, leaving Lena standing alone beside the wrecked shuttle. She quickly returned to her injured companions, her mind already working on survival strategies. "Dr. Kim, change of plans. We're not staying here." "What happened out there? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Worse. A draconid hunter who considers us prey." Lena quickly explained the encounter while gathering their portable supplies. "He's giving us a head start to reach some stone circle to the north. I don't think he's bluffing about the sport aspect." Dr. Kim's face paled. "Leave me here. With my arm, I'll only slow you down." "Not happening. Iris scan for the most efficient route north while maintaining concealment." The AI's response crackled with static. "Dr. Marin, the electromagnetic interference is intensifying. My scanning range is limited to approximately 100 meters. I do recommend immediate departure, however. I detect movement in the forest consistent with a large predator observing our position. Lena helped Dr. Kim to her feet, and together, they moved away from the crash site. Behind them, the pilot remained unconscious in the shuttle, but Lena had left him with water and emergency rations. She could only hope that Varrock's interest lay in mobile prey rather than helpless victims. The forest of Thraxus 4 was a maze of massive trees, dense undergrowth, and treacherous terrain. Lena used her botanical knowledge to identify potentially edible plants and fresh water sources, while avoiding the numerous specimens that displayed warning colors or defensive spines. The bioluminescent fungi provided enough light to travel, but they also revealed their position to any observer. After several hours of careful progress, they took shelter in a small cave formed by the roots of an enormous tree. Dr. Kim's pain was clearly worsening, but she maintained a brave front as Lena administered what painkillers they could spare. "Iris, any sign of pursuit?" "Negative on direct visual contact, but I have detected several instances of displaced vegetation and broken branches along our path. Something is indeed following us, maintaining a distance of approximately 200 meters. Lena nodded grimly. Varrock was keeping his word about the head start, but he was tracking them nonetheless. She studied their supplies and considered their options. The Draconid had mentioned one rotation of the moons, and through the cave opening, she could see 2 small satellites moving across the alien sky. If their orbital period was similar to Earth's moon, they had perhaps 24 hours to reach this mysterious stone circle. "Dr. Kim, tell me about Draconid hunting traditions. You studied their culture during the first contact missions, didn't you?" Dr. Kim nodded, wincing as she shifted position. "They're apex predators by nature and choice. Their hunting rituals aren't just about survival. They're about proving worthiness. The strongest Draconids earn the right to lead through their prowess in the hunt." "So this isn't necessarily about killing us?" "Not exactly. It's about testing us. If we show intelligence, courage, and adaptability, we might earn his respect. The problem is, their definition of worthy prey often doesn't align with survival." Lena spent the rest period studying their route and fashioning basic tools from materials in their kit and the environment around them. Using her biological knowledge, she created makeshift camouflage from local plant materials that would mask their human scent with the pungent aroma of indigenous flora. As they resumed their journey at first light, Lena noticed signs that they were entering a different biome. The massive forest trees gave way to areas of thick, marshy ground, where warm springs created pockets of mist. Strange calls echoed through the fog, and ripples on the water's surface suggested hidden life beneath. "Iris, any data on the fauna of this region?" "Limited information available. I detect elevated levels of thermal activity and multiple life signs in the water. Recommend extreme caution near any standing water." Their caution proved justified when Dr. Kim stepped too close to what appeared to be solid ground. The earth gave way beneath her feet, revealing a hidden pool of murky water. As Lena grabbed her colleague's good arm and pulled her back, something massive surged upward from the depths, a creature like a cross between a crocodile and a squid, with multiple eyes and writhing tentacles. The creature's roar shook the ground as its tentacles lashed toward them. Lena pulled Dr. Kim away, but they were now trapped between the monster and a steep, rocky slope. The creature hauled itself partially out of the water, revealing rows of teeth and acid-scarred hide. "The high ground," Lena shouted, pointing to a rocky outcropping. "We need to get above it." They scrambled up the slope as the creature gave chase its powerful limbs, allowing it to climb with surprising speed. Lena's mind raced through her knowledge of predator behavior. This was clearly an ambush predator, powerful, but probably not built for extended pursuits. "Iris, analyze the creature's movements. Look for patterns or weaknesses." "Dr. Marin, the creature appears to rely primarily on ambush tactics. Its movement on land is powerful but inefficient. I also detect specialized organs that suggest electrical generation capability." Electrical generation. Lena remembered her portable laboratory's electromagnetic field generator, designed for analyzing charged particles in alien atmospheres. If she could modify its output. The creature reached their position on the rocky outcropping, its tentacles sweeping across the stone as it searched for them. Lena and Dr. Kim pressed themselves against the rock face as the beast's massive bulk blocked their escape route. Working frantically, Lena reconfigured her field generator to produce a localized electromagnetic pulse. It wasn't much, but if the creature used bioelectricity for hunting or navigation, it might be enough to disorient it. As one massive tentacle swept toward them, Lena activated the device. The creature convulsed, its electrical organs overloading from the feedback. It released a sound somewhere between a shriek and a roar before tumbling backward into the murky water below. They didn't wait to see if it would recover. Moving as quickly as Dr. Kim's injury allowed, they circled the marshy area and continued north. Behind them, angry splashing suggested that their temporary solution hadn't been permanent. "Impressive adaptation," came a familiar voice from above. Lena looked up to see Varrock perched in a tree, observing them with what might have been approval. He had clearly witnessed their encounter with the marsh creature. "You begin to show promise, human, but the true tests lie ahead." "Why are you doing this?" Lena called up to him. "What do you gain from hunting us?" Varrock's amber eyes seemed to consider her question carefully. "Long ago, my clan ruled these forests through strength alone. But the weak breeds of the galaxy grow numerous. They speak of laws and treaties of ruling through words, rather than deeds. I hunt to prove that strength still matters, that evolution's lessons should not be forgotten. And if we reach your stone circle, then you will have proven that humans possess more than weakness and clever words. You will have earned the right to be heard." With that, Varrock vanished back into the canopy, leaving them alone once more. But Lena had learned something important from the exchange. This wasn't just about Draconid traditions. This was about Varrock's own struggle with a changing galaxy, his fear that his people's ancient ways were becoming obsolete. The terrain continued to change as they progressed north. The marshlands gave way to dense jungle, where vines hung like curtains between massive trees. The air grew thick with moisture and the calls of unseen creatures. Lena used her xenobiological training to identify potential dangers: plants with thorns that moved like tentacles, insects with warning patterns that suggested toxicity, and areas where the very air shimmered with spores or chemicals. Dr. Kim's condition was deteriorating. Despite the painkillers, her broken arm was clearly causing her significant discomfort, and their meager rations were barely sustaining them. But she remained determined, drawing on reserves of inner strength that Lena deeply admired. As they navigated through particularly dense undergrowth, Iris chimed with an alert. "Dr. Marin, I'm detecting structured materials ahead, possibly artificial construction." They pushed through the last curtain of vines to find themselves standing before ancient stone ruins. Massive blocks of dark stone formed walls and archways that disappeared into the jungle canopy. The architecture was unlike anything from known galactic civilizations, organic curves mixed with precise geometric patterns that seemed to shift based on the viewing angle. "These aren't Draconid," Lena observed, running her hand along the smooth stone. "This is something much older." Carvings covered every surface, depicting strange symbols and creatures that might have been representations of the planet's native life. In the center of the ruins stood a series of stone platforms, connected by bridges that seemed to defy conventional engineering. "Perhaps this is the stone circle Varrock mentioned," Dr. Kim suggested. "Iris, how far north have we traveled?" "Approximately 15 kilometers from the crash site, Dr. Marin. Based on the stellar positions and our estimated travel time, we have approximately 6 hours before the rotation of the moon's deadline." Lena studied the ruins more carefully. While impressive, these didn't match the description of a circle. And more importantly, she didn't sense that they had reached their destination. The feeling of being watched remained strong, and she suspected Varrock wouldn't end his hunt at just any ancient ruin. They used the ruins as a temporary shelter taking refuge in a chamber partially protected from the elements. Lena used the time to treat Dr. Kim's arm more thoroughly and to think through their situation. Dr. Kim, you mentioned that draconids value strength and worthiness. What happens to prey that proves worthy but can't continue? In traditional hunts, worthy prey that shows intelligence and courage might be adopted into the clan rather than killed. But that's based on old stories. Modern draconids have adapted their traditions significantly. As if summoned by their conversation, Varrock appeared at the entrance to their shelter. But this time, his posture was different, less predatory, more contemplative. "You shelter in the bones of the eldest," he said, running his claws along the carved stone. "Few understand the significance of these places." "Who were the eldest?" Lena asked, genuinely curious. "The first children of Thraxus IV. They shaped this world, and then vanished, leaving only stone memories behind. My clan considers them the ultimate prey beings, so wise and powerful that hunting them became the greatest honor." Varrock's eyes fixed on Lena with renewed intensity. "You begin to remind me of them, human. You adapt. You overcome. You think beyond mere survival. Then, why continue this hunt? You've seen what we're capable of. Because the stone circle still awaits. And because your injured companion slows you. A true predator would abandon the weak to save themselves." Dr. Kim started to protest, but Lena held up a hand. "A true predator, maybe. But humans aren't just predators. We're social creatures. Our strength comes from cooperation, not dominance." Varrock's expression remained unreadable. "We shall see, Dr. Marin. Dawn brings the final segment of your journey. Choose wisely." After he departed, Lena sat in contemplation. Varrock was testing more than their survival skills. He was testing their humanity itself. The question was whether she could prove that human values were a strength rather than a weakness. Dawn brought with it an ominous change in the weather. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with potential energy. Iris detected massive electromagnetic disturbances building in the atmosphere, suggesting an impending storm of unprecedented intensity. "Dr. Marin, I strongly recommend finding substantial shelter. The approaching atmospheric disturbance exceeds all parameters for safe exposure." But they had a deadline to meet, and through breaks in the jungle canopy, Lena could now see their destination, a ring of standing stones on a distant hilltop, each stone reaching toward the storm-dark sky like ancient fingers. The final approach to the stone circle proved the most challenging yet. The jungle became increasingly dense and hostile, as if the planet itself were testing their resolve. Plants with razor-sharp leaves created natural barriers, and the ground became treacherous with hidden sinkholes and unstable root networks. Dr. Kim was struggling more with each step, her face pale with pain and exhaustion. But she refused to give up, driven by the same stubborn determination that had made her a respected scientist in the first place. Halfway to their destination, the electromagnetic storm finally broke. Lightning crackled through the air with unnatural colors, purples and greens that spoke of alien atmospheric compositions. The electromagnetic interference intensified dramatically, causing Iris to flicker in and out of consciousness. "Doctor, warning. Creatures. Electromagnetic." Iris's voice fragmented as her systems struggled against the interference. Through the chaos of the storm, Lena heard it, a sound like tearing metal, mixed with organic screaming. Something massive was moving through the forest, drawn by the electromagnetic disturbance. They took shelter beneath an overhang of stone as the creature emerged from the jungle, a nightmare fusion of organic and technological elements. It moved on 6 legs that ended in metal claws, its body covered in what appeared to be both scales and circuitry. Electromagnetic energy arced between the horn-like protrusions on its head, and its multiple eyes glowed with an unnatural blue light. "Nexus beast," came Varrock's voice from nearby. Lena turned to see the Draconid warrior taking shelter under a different outcropping, his usual confidence replaced by genuine concern. "I had hoped the storm would not wake them." What is that thing? A relic of the eldest. Part creature, part machine, all death. The electromagnetic storms feed them, make them strong. The Nexus beast had detected their presence and was moving toward their shelters, its 6 legs, carrying it across the treacherous terrain with ease. Lightning struck its horns repeatedly, each strike seeming to charge the creature further. Lena realized with growing horror that they were trapped. Dr. Kim couldn't run, and the creature would reach them within minutes. But as she watched the beast move, she noticed something important. Varrock, she called across the space between their shelters. Its circuitry is exposed. If we could overload its systems. You would need to channel the lightning itself, he replied. Impossible for creatures like us. But Lena was already formulating a plan. The stone around them contained veins of metallic ore that glowed faintly in response to the electromagnetic disturbance. If she could use that conductivity combined with her modified field generator. I need a conductor, she shouted over the storm. Something that can channel electrical current directly to the creature. Understanding flashed in Varrock's eyes. Without hesitation, he drew a spear from his back, a weapon with a metallic point, connected to his scale mail by a conductive wire. This was a traditional Draconid storm hunting weapon, designed for battling creatures during electrical storms. But the beast was too far away for him to reach, and it was moving toward Lena's position. Dr. Kim, can you move? If I have to. Lena helped her colleague to her feet as the Nexus beast approached. Its electromagnetic field was so strong that it interfered with her nervous system, making coordination difficult. But she had one advantage: the creature expected prey to run, not attack. As the beast lunged toward them, Lena activated her modified field generator at maximum output and grabbed Varrock's spear as he threw it. The combination of the device's electromagnetic pulse, the conductive spear, and the metallic ore in the stone created a perfect conduit for the storm's energy. Lightning struck the spear, just as Lena drove it into the beast's exposed circuitry. The result was spectacular electricity arced through the creature's hybrid systems, overloading its organic and technological components simultaneously. The Nexus beast convulsed and collapsed, its lights fading as systems shut down one by one. But the effort had been costly. The electromagnetic feedback had destroyed both the spear and Lena's field generator, and the proximity to such intense electrical energy had left her barely conscious. Varrock appeared at her side, his expression showing something she'd never seen before, genuine admiration mixed with concern. Lena Marin, he said, using her name for the first time, you fight like one of the eldest themselves. Dr. Kim was alive, but unconscious from the electromagnetic exposure. Lena struggled to her feet, determined to complete their journey to the stone circle. But Varrock gently placed a massive hand on her shoulder. Enough, he said quietly. You have proven more than worthiness. You have proven wisdom, courage, and something my people value above all, the willingness to risk everything for another. The storm was beginning to clear, and through the dissipating clouds, Lena could see the stone circle clearly. It was beautiful, ancient, and somehow peaceful, despite the chaos they had just endured. The stone circle, she said, pointing toward their original destination. Was never the true test, Varrock admitted. The circle is a place of honor where successful hunts are concluded. But the hunt itself was the test: how you faced challenges, how you protected your companion, how you adapted to situations beyond your control. He looked down at the defeated Nexus beast, then back at Lena. My clan sent me to prove that the old ways still matter, that strength and hunting prowess define worth. But you have shown me something else, that different kinds of strength can be equally valid. Lena felt profound relief washing over her, mixed with exhaustion from their ordeal. What happens now? Now, we take you and your companions to safety, and I return to my clan with tales of humans who fought like legends and proved that the galaxy's newest species may be among its finest. As if on cue, the sound of approaching aircraft filled the air. Through the clearing skies, Lena could see Alliance rescue vessels approaching. Varrock must have sent some signal she hadn't noticed. Your ship, she asked. Among others, word of our encounter has traveled quickly through certain channels. Within hours, both Dr. Kim and the shuttle pilot were receiving proper medical treatment aboard an Alliance medical vessel. Lena found herself in the unusual position of debriefing not only Alliance officials, but also Draconid clan leaders who had come to hear Varrock's report in person. The formal meeting took place aboard a Draconid cruise ship, a vessel that managed to combine functionality with the fierce aesthetics of its builders. Lena stood beside Varrock in the central chamber as he addressed a circle of elder Draconids, their scales bearing the scars and decorations of countless hunts. Honored elders. Varrock began his voice, carrying the formal cadence of ritual. I have completed the hunt of testing. The human specimens exceeded all expectations. He went on to describe their journey in detail, emphasizing not their desperate escape, but their intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. When he reached the battle with the Nexus Beast, the elders leaned forward with keen interest. She fought not for herself alone, Varrock concluded, but for her injured companion. She faced certain death to save another, then used cunning and knowledge to turn weakness into strength. I name Lena Marin a warrior, worthy of respect and humanity, a species worthy of alliance. The eldest of the Draconids, her scales silvered with age, stepped forward. Human, she addressed Lena directly. Varrock speaks of honor found in unexpected places. Do you claim his words as truth? Lena chose her response carefully. Honored elder, I claim only that we did what felt right to us. Humans value life, cooperation, and knowledge, not because these make us strong, but because they define who we are. And yet these very traits made you strong enough to defeat the Nexus Beast and complete the trial. Perhaps, Lena admitted, strength comes in many forms. What matters is recognizing and respecting those differences. The elder's eyes, ancient and wise, seemed to look straight through Lena to some deeper truth. Varrock of the Deepwood clan, you asked to prove the validity of our old ways. Have you found your answer? Varrock stood straighter, his voice clear and strong. I have found that our ways are not threatened by different forms of strength. They are enriched by them. I petition the Council to name Lena Marin an honorary protector entitled to the respect and protection of all Draconid clans. A murmur went through the assembled elders. Honorary protector was a title rarely given to non-Draconids, usually reserved for those who had saved Draconid lives or performed extraordinary service to their civilization. The eldest elder raised her hand for silence. After a long moment of contemplation, she spoke. The petition is granted. Let it be recorded that humanity has proven itself in the ancient ways through trial, by hunt, and trial by combat. Let it also be recorded that new alliances require respect for different forms of strength. As the formal ceremony concluded, Lena found herself presented with a Draconid armband, a braided cord of metal and scale that marked her new status. But more than the title, what moved her was the change she saw in Varrock and the other Draconids. The rigid adherence to strength alone had given way to a broader understanding of worth. Later, as they traveled back toward human space, Lena stood with Varrock on an observation deck, watching the stars wheel by. You realize, she said, this doesn't mean humans will try to become hunters like Draconids. Varrock's laugh was a deep rumble. And it doesn't mean Draconids will abandon our ways to become researchers like humans. But perhaps we can learn from each other's strengths instead of seeing only weaknesses. Understanding rather than dominance. Cooperation rather than conquest, he agreed. Though I suspect there will always be those among both our species who prefer the old ways. Lena nodded, thinking of the challenges that still lay ahead for the Alliance. Change is never easy, but you've proven it's possible. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying them toward a future where humans and Draconids would work side by side, Lena reflected on their extraordinary journey. What had begun as a scientific mission had become something far more important, a bridge between species that had once seemed impossibly different. The formal report she would write would focus on the scientific discoveries of Thraxis 4, the unique biomes, and the advanced technology of the eldest civilization. But Lena knew the true discovery had been much simpler and much more profound, that understanding and respect could transform enemies into allies, and that different forms of strength could complement rather than compete with each other. Varrock had his own reports to file, his own clan to convince that the human alliance offered opportunities rather than threats. But as he watched the stars, he found himself thinking not of hunts and prey, but of partnerships and possibilities. In the end, the apex predator had claimed the human as prey. But in the claiming, both had been transformed. Varrock had gained not just a trophy, but an understanding that would reshape his people's relationship with the galaxy. And Lena had gained not just survival, but a friend among the stars who would guard their alliance like the most precious treasure. The formal announcement of the new Draconid-Human Cooperation Treaty came weeks later, surprising many in the alliance who had seen the two species as fundamentally incompatible. But those who had witnessed the hunt on Thraxis 4 understood that sometimes the most unlikely alliances are forged not in deliberation chambers, but in the crucible of shared danger and mutual respect. As word spread through alliance space, other species began to reconsider their own assumptions about compatibility and cooperation. The human who had become prey and the predator who had become protector had proven that the galaxy's future lay not in dominance, but in understanding. And in the deepest forests of Thraxis 4, the ancient stone circle stood unchanged, a monument to trials completed and alliances forged. Perhaps the eldest, wherever they had gone, would have approved. After all, the strongest bonds are often formed, not between the similar, but between those who have learned to see strength in their differences. The story of Dr. Lena Marin and Varrock Ironclaw became legend among both species, a reminder that sometimes the most important discoveries come not from studying other worlds, but from studying each other. And throughout the galaxy, wherever humans and draconids worked together, they carried with them the knowledge that respect once earned through shared adversity could transform even the most ancient of antagonisms into the closest of alliances. In the years that followed, the alliance between humans and draconids would prove to be one of the strongest and most productive in galactic history. But it all began with a crashed shuttle, a hunt in an alien forest, and two beings who discovered that the greatest strength of all is the courage to change.